Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're actually going to be going into the Sunday main slate here on Draftkings for Week 4 of the NFL season. I did want to mention a couple things real quick. Last night, the Showdown slate, our cash lineups were disgusting over here on DFS Squid, FanDuel, and DK. Both cashed very, very easily, and then the GPPs both missed with MVS having a horrible game, but should have just stuck Adams in the captain spot there, and neither one of us were really on Jordan Howard like that. But I'm disappointed because I mentioned the run game, and I thought Miles Sanders was going to be the guy, and it turned out it was Howard. I didn't think the fumbles were really going to influence the snap count last night, but that sure was that came to be untrue, to say the least, because Jordan Howard had himself a game. But if you're playing proper bankroll management, then you should have gone up quite a bit of money last night on both the cash lineups going through big. And then I did want to come over here and mention one more thing real quick. One thing I think I'm going to try to do, because I mentioned in the last video how I want to be a little bit more specific on players that I'm on and players that I'm not on, and just give my definitive take rather than say, play Patrick Mahomes, he's good. Lamar Jackson, he's viable. Tom Brady, he's viable. Watson, he's viable too. So rather than doing that, I'm going to try to be a little bit more definitive. But I also think it's going to benefit if I make a separate video going into my cash takes, as well as a separate video for my GPP takes or tournament players. So I'm going to do this video specifically on my cash game plays for this week of the NFL main slate here on DraftKings, and then I will have a video up either tonight or tomorrow morning. I don't like doing just back-to-back uploads, right? Within an hour or something like that. But I'll probably record it here shortly after this. But I'm going to do this more on cash games, and then the next video will be on my GPP plays or tournament takes. Talk about some of the less-owned guys and things like that. So without further ado, let's jump into this. And then my favorite couple cash plays here at quarterback. It's pretty simple. They're both going to be pretty popular. I do want to talk about the higher price one, my preferred favorite, Russell Wilson. And we can go ahead and plug him in just for now. I'm going to build, like a little kind of give me cash lineup or something like that over here on the side. But Russell Wilson had himself a game last week. But, I mean, that was pretty much game script against New Orleans. But, I mean, you can't argue 4 touchdowns. He had 50 rushing yards and threw for over 400. That's a game and a half. He's thrown for over 300 in the last 2 games he's played after a efficient but not super fantasy efficient or productive week against Cincinnati in week 1. But I think Russell Wilson's just a lock this week. We've seen what quarterbacks do against that Arizona team. It's just such a great spot. Anybody playing the Cardinals or the Chiefs, in my opinion, is just fantasy gold. And then we can talk about, mini stacks and things like that as well. But for a cash-oriented lineup, Russell Wilson's too popular. I mean, that's the chalk that I'm going to eat this week most likely. But below him, I think probably going to be the most owned quarterback this week is Daniel Jones. I usually prefer to fade any sort of a young kid or a rookie that's coming out hot. After a huge week like last week, everybody's going to be on him. This is the week I'd want to fade him. But against that Washington team at home, he just had that huge performance in Tampa. Now he's coming home for his first home start, as a New York Giant, and I think that this is going to be a smash spot for him. I think it's just another thing that, there's chalk I want to eat and chalk I want to fade. I like Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones this week. I think they both crush their value. I don't even hate using them in tournaments because you're going to get value out of them. So I'm paying down for like Daniel Jones, and if he throws for 3 touchdowns and rushes 1, you've been able to save that salary at your QB spot and pay up everywhere else. So those are my 2 favorite cash quarterbacks this week. And I do, obviously, I must say it, Patrick Mahomes is always the safest quarterback to play. He's not going to be the most owned this week, but he is always going to have the highest floor out of any quarterback. But if you want to pay $7,500 versus coming down here for $5,300, I'll take the $2,200 in savings for a little bit of a lower floor, but also a really good ceiling in Daniel Jones. Coming over to running back, for cash games specifically, I have to talk about Austin Eckler. He's going to be owned, and he's playing the dumpster fire Miami Dolphins team. I gotta plug him in for that reason. He's playing the Dolphins. Anybody playing the Dolphins, I think, is a good play. especially as a running back. It stung a little bit to see Tony Pollard come in the fourth quarter and run for over 100 and a touchdown last week. And a lot of people think that's going to happen with Justin Jackson this week. But I tell you, as a Detroit fan, watching the Chargers-Lions game, I mean, it was pretty tough to say after what we saw with Colts-Chargers and then Chargers-Lions. The Chargers look like they like to play with their competition, kind of like Detroit does. I don't know. Miami could cover the 16.5 here, to say the least. But I think it stays a little closer than most people think. Could it be 42-0? Yes. But I don't know if Eckler's going to be pulled in the fourth quarter is my point. So I'm going to plug him in now. And then I do want to come down a little bit more. Another guy that I really do like for cash and tournaments really is going to be Kerryon Johnson against that Kansas City front. Detroit's another team like the Chargers that's just really good at playing at the level of their competition, and they'll either play down or they'll play up. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game stayed pretty competitive for the earlier portion. I don't think Kansas City's going to just jump out to a huge lead. Of course, they could, but I think Kerryon Johnson's he's a pretty safe play. He's got a decent floor, and he's got a huge ceiling. So I don't hate him at all this week for cash or tournaments. And then Wayne Gallman, kind of the uber chalk. He's just pluggable in every lineup. You probably don't want to miss out on him. He's going to be ridiculously high owned. We can go ahead and plug him in for now. I might want to come down just to save 100 and drop to 4,500 and maybe go for Chris Thompson. We'll see how the rest of the lineup looks, but I mean, that's just something that it's going to be up to you. I mean, Gallman is the uber chalk this week with Saquon out. Everybody will be playing Wayne Gallman in cash. If he has a 15 to 20 point game at 4,600 and you don't have him, you're not going to be looking too great because you're probably 20 to 25% of people that don't have Wayne Gallman. Coming over here to the wide receivers, though, the top of the list for cash is going to be Keenan Allen. These top two are great leverage plays in Julio and Hopkins. I think Julio has a touchdown in like 6 or 7 straight games, but he's Julio Jones, if you didn't know. That's who he is. So he's going to be a good pivot or leverage play. Same thing with Hopkins. Hopkins actually has a pretty tough matchup this week on James Bradberry. But cash games, focused on that. Keenan Allen, just lock him in. 10, 15, 17, I think, are his targets so far this year. 10, 15, 17, and he's converting at a pretty high rate, excluding week 2, where he only got about 55% or something like that of his targets converted to catches. But you can't argue the volume, and that's what we're going for. I won't be missing out on those 2 Chargers this week playing against Miami. Keenan Allen's got a sick matchup too. If we come down a little bit at wide receiver, though, I do want to stack a little bit with Russell Wilson. So next we're going to be talking about Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's just got a bread and butter matchup, and these are all relatively chalky plays too. These guys are all going to be pretty high owned. I mean, they're not going to be Wayne Gallman owned, but they're not going to be contrarian, I don't think. Tyler Lockett, I'm gonna lock him in, but I mean, anybody, like I said, playing against this Arizona team, it's just fantasy gold. It's just such a pace-up spot. You can't really argue it. Another guy that I think will be owned a lot that I won't really be playing as much, great play, yes, but Sterling Shepard, he's just a great play. You can't – any wide receiver against Washington, quarterbacks against Washington, anybody playing against Washington, same thing as the Dolphins. They're just good plays. He's got a good matchup. He's on a weak corner there. I think Sterling Shepard's a great play if you're playing Danny Dimes. I think he's a good play if you're not playing Danny Dimes too. But we're going to talk about a couple other guys that we're playing. And Sterling Shepard, I think it might be one of the guys that I miss out on this week. That's going to be pretty highly owned. Coming down a little bit more, we should have one of the old men somewhere around here. I must have passed him. There he is right here. So Larry Fitz is kind of my run-it-back play, because this is going to be a mini Seattle Cardinals stack. It's not like let's fit in everybody from this game, but it's kind of a mini stack for cash. I think it's the safest play. I see this game being 27-31 or something along those lines. I'm going to plug in Larry Fitz. His volume's ridiculous. He's getting targets like he did in his prime, 13, 11, 7. What's he averaging? 24, 31. So he's averaging like 10-plus targets a game. So the volume's there. He's getting red zone looks as well. So I'm okay with plugging him in for sure. 5,600. I still don't think he's priced where he should be. Anybody getting 10-plus targets should be 6,500 or more. in the wide receiver position. And then at tight end, there's pretty much two guys that are going to be the chalk at tight end this week between Evan Ingram at 5,700 and Will Dissly at 3,600. Again, Evan Ingram, you don't have to play Danny Dimes to play Evan Ingram, but I don't want to miss out on Will Dissly. I have a feeling, and I'll talk about this in the tournament video, that Dissly might not do what everybody expects him to do. This is kind of like the super fade in tournament lineups. He's had 2 great weeks back to back. Will the touchdown consistency stay? Of course not. But the Cardinals have given up a ridiculous, just a number of fantasy points to tight ends this year. Greg Olsen caught for over 100. Mark Andrews caught for over 100. And T.J. Hawkinson, we all saw that week 1, caught for over 100. And I'm pretty sure all 3 of them got a touchdown. Maybe Olsen didn't. I think he did. But Will Dissly, lock him in for cash. I can't argue a 3,600 tight end against this Arizona defense that seems to forget that tight ends exist. Coming over to defense real quick, I want to see what it leaves us with if we were to take the Chargers defense, who I think is going to be the best cash game defense. Josh Rosen and Fitzmagic. It doesn't matter who's playing for Miami. Rosen's getting the start right now, I believe. I haven't been paying attention because the team's just that bad. I don't really think it's worth my time to study up on them. I don't love whoever's on Xavier Howard, but at the same time, Keenan Allen should see some time with him. I just don't really care. I'm playing the defense, playing Miami. I said it last week. The Cowboys' defense is atrocious. They still hit value. They were a little expensive, but I'm okay with just locking in the Chargers. And then coming over to the flex, that'll leave us with... This is what I was thinking it would do. So this is where I don't like it. I'm okay with playing Adrian Peterson. I would prefer to get the F1, Scary Terry. I kind of want to get him. I'm assuming he's going to play. Gruden said he hopes that he plays or something like that. When asked if he was in danger of missing Sunday's game, Gruden said, I sure hope not. So I would like to plug him in and then maybe save 100. I want to keep the Chargers D personally, but if we're talking like best cash play, I would probably go ahead and plug in one of these 2 defenses here and just get off the Chargers D. The Pats defense has looked unreal. Buffalo's offense can produce for sure, but I'm okay with plugging in the Pats D or something like that just to get up to Scary Terry, and that's what I would be looking at for cash. I hope that helps you out a little bit because those are just the guys that I'm pretty much locking in for cash. I don't know if that'll be my lineup or not. It's probably definitely not going to be the exact same as that, but I think that's a very safe cash lineup, probably going to cash in your 50-50s and your double-ups. And then, like I said, though, I will be posting a GPP-oriented video either this evening, Friday evening, or tomorrow, Saturday morning. If y'all have any questions for me, as always, season-long, DraftKings, FanDuel, any sort of DFS questions, feel free to leave a comment below, and I will do my best to give you any advice that I can. If you have not already, please leave a like on this video. I really appreciate it. The last video, the Thursday Night Football Showdown video, is the best video I've had so far. Just most views and obviously some great comments on that. So I really appreciate the great feedback y'all are giving me. I'm going to do my best to take any criticism I can, constructive criticism, and hopefully you guys like the more definitive takes in the videos as well, rather than saying everybody's viable, this, that. So, yeah, like I said, though, if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know. And then if you have not already, please follow me on Twitter. That's the best way to get in touch with me if you have any sort of an urgent question or if it's 20 minutes before lock. But I look forward to seeing y'all in the GPP video, and we're going to talk about some really sick tournament plays this week, so don't miss that one, all right?